Hello, hello, welcome everyone. I would say, I guess, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are located. But I'm Hope Gilbertson. I am your host today. I'm an account associate serving the RMSC divisions. But it's my honor to welcome you all to the Me, You team using Carnegie Chem to work with different personalities session. Buckle up, it's going to be a good one, as I'm sure you all are well aware. I get to introduce our lovely hosts and two of my favorite people here at Carnegie, Heidi Vanderpan and Kyle Garverson. So on that note, I'll pass it over to them. They'll tell you a little bit more about themselves as they go.
Thank you, Hope. If you all haven't met Hope Gilbertson, she is wonderful. She is on the RMSC account management side of things alongside Kyle and myself. If we haven't met before, I'm Heidi Vanderpan. I'm located just outside Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's always helpful to have a reference point of where someone's at. We are going to be talking a lot about Carnegie Chem today, so I'll disclose to you all. My top colors are red, blue, and pink, which leads me to be the polished and playful motivator. So who am I talking with today? Kyle, introduce yourself.
Thanks, Heidi. Good to see everybody this morning or afternoon. Like Heidi said, my name is Kyle, coming to you from Grand Rapids, Michigan. My Carnegie Chem colors are green, red, purple, and I am the compassionate and philosophical globetrotter.
Awesome. Well, we are so excited that you all are here today. We are going to start off. Kyle and I wanted to kind of get the pulse in the room of who do we have here. So on the screen, you see these 9 archetypes, but maybe there's a little extra explanation for each of those. So below each, you see this verb and with me. This is what we call the mode of connection for Carnegie Chem. So each archetype, each color has a way that they connect with people. So this is how I like to describe it. It's a way that we invite people to participate in our personalities alongside of us. And it's a way that we invite people to experience kind of the best parts of our personalities. So I am a personality assessment junkie, I'll confess. So I like this part of Carnegie Chem because I don't really see this element in a lot of other personality assessments. So we're starting with this mode of connection, and we're going to do a poll. So Hope can bring up this poll. We want to see here today, not necessarily just what colors are present, but what types of mode of connection are present. So when we're thinking of working with different personalities, we want to know what are the different ways that we're connecting with people. So if you know your top color, your top archetype, put that in there and select your mode of connection. If we just dove right in and you're sitting here, what's Carnegie Chem? What are these colors? You probably haven't worked here for very long, and that's great. Welcome. We're going to get into that in a minute. But let's have you be putting those in there, and we'll do that for the next few seconds. I wish it was like live. I wish I could see. Okay, Hope, let's have you close the poll. Let's see who's here today.
So I get to see the live results. I'm just
You
lucky.
do.
Yes. You see the
All right.
results?
I can. Okay, so no surprise. We have a lot of purple people present. A lot of people coming in saying, let's care together, care with me. And it looks like silver, defy with me. Maybe we don't have a lot of those people here at Carnegie, or they are choosing another session today. That is just fine. So a great visual for us. Who's here today? So Kyle, we dove in, but let's hear from you. What is Carnegie Chem?
Yeah, so we'll keep this somewhat brief. As Heidi said, if you're here, you probably work here, and that's a good sign. And if you work here, you probably have responded and have participated to the Team Chem assessment. Probably whether it was in the hiring phase or maybe right after you started. Most of us, and as you probably have noticed the past few months, well, people bring up, these are my Carnegie Chem colors. These are my Team Chem colors. This is my persona. So Carnegie Chem is our internal to Carnegie proprietary personality assessment, utilizing our own methodology and approach that has been developed for the past 35 years to kind of get at the heart of organizations, individuals, and of course, teams. So there's a core kind of belief that we use, that the company uses in employing this Carnegie Chem. So jump to the next one. Our core belief, right? And as cheesy as this maybe sounds, or as corny as it sounds when you see it in other places, is that authenticity fuels human connection. It's true. We know this to be true. We know we don't need to work at Carnegie to know this to be true, that being our true self, being authentic to who we are, organizations being authentic to who they are, fuels this connection between us. And so the goal and kind of the purpose of Carnegie Chem is to facilitate that through this process, through this tool. We use this through our 9 core archetypes, right? These 9 core colors. So you can think about these as different buckets of maybe personality. And all of us have, you'll see this later, all of us have these 9 archetypes within us. Some of them just come out stronger than others. And there's a particular reason for that. And it's because our personalities, right? When we're talking about all of this going forward, we have to remember this key point. Our personalities are based on our motivations, not simply our behaviors. You maybe see me or others doing certain things. You can see behaviors, you can see action, right? But when we're talking about personality, when we're using Carnegie Chem, when we're talking about these archetypes, we're talking about from the inside out. Anyone? Thank you, Jory. We're talking about your personality coming from the inside out. It's true. So remember that. We're talking about motivations, not just behaviors. So when we think about, our personalities, what are we here? What are we up to, right? Part of what Heidi and I are going to be talking about today is, what does it mean to work with each other, with these different personalities? And I have my own personality. Heidi has her own personality. And well, if you probably noticed, I have this high green. And so when I get onto like company calls or team calls or like new projects, my green takes over and I want to ask a billion questions. And also, I want to know what questions we haven't answered or even asked yet. And so when a new project, a new idea comes along, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. That's when my green starts to activate. And I want to explore ideas. I want to be in this call. Like I want to hit pause and be like, hey, let's have a conversation, everybody. I bet you have great ideas. And I start thinking about this and I go on tangents, all of it. But it's pretty exhausting, I think, for some people to work with a guy like me with this screen that's like always going off all the time. Heidi, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Yes, for people who are maybe blue like myself, Kyle's questions are awesome. Explore together, learn together, all that stuff. For me, someone who has a blue archetype, my questions that I'm asking are really more strategic. How can we achieve together? How can we be powerful and assertive together? How can we lead together? So, Kyle, I love your questions, but my questions are coming from a very, very different point of view.
And that's something like I have to learn, right? I can respond to Heidi's leadership and her assertiveness within the moment and be like, wait, hold on. Aren't there a bunch of people we got to think about, and people and their emotions and their feelings that we got to consider? Wait, we're going too fast. I can respond to blue that way because my purple will start to come through. And that is something I'm always considering. Yes, I'm asking questions, but I'm always thinking about all these people and how can I care for them? How can I get everyone in the room to care along with me? And that's not always true about blue. Heidi's blue. She does care for people, and she has a particular way about her personality in which she cares. That's maybe just not purple.
Yeah, I'm always a little self-conscious that purple is not one of my top colors. I'll just own it in this very intimate setting that we have here. But through Carnegie Chem, I've learned that my pink is actually a way that I express a lot of care for people. I've learned a lot of great language that might refine with me when I'm paying attention to the details, when I am putting together an outline for this presentation, or really thinking about the moment that we're going to have with a team or on a project. Those details, how I refine alongside people, that is really how I'm expressing my care and saying, you're really valuable. So thanks for acknowledging that, Kyle. I care even though I'm not purple.
And it's something for me to learn from. Heidi has approached this whole thing. She is thinking about all of you, just like I'm thinking about all of you. It just looks a little bit different. And it's important for me to remember that, even though we have a different approach to it. You're probably catching on, there's one last archetype, and it's an archetype that Heidi and I share. It's maybe one of my favorites, red. I mean, when we were thinking about this presentation the past couple of weeks, I'm like, how can I make this as silly and ridiculous as possible? Right? How can I make sure that everybody's having fun? I'm thinking about everybody, like, what kind of like subtle jokes can I sneak in? Like, should I be funny? How funny should I be? Should this be fun for everybody? I'm going there. I'm thinking about all of this stuff. And that's kind of how my red comes out. And if you work with me, you know I'm serious sometimes, but I like to mess around. I like to have jokes. I like to be telling jokes, even in settings like this.
And Kyle and I share that red, but to be serious for a moment, I'm not sure exactly how my red is expressed in the workplace. I see it a lot in my friends and with my family, but when I'm thinking about work, I haven't figured out exactly how my red comes across for me, Heidi, as an account manager. And so I resonate with a lot of the things Kyle said, but I'm also still figuring it out of what does this actually look like. So I think this brings us to a great first point that we want to make, and that is that we are all different. So our personalities, though, that is that unique set of traits that we all bring to the table. So the table of work, the table of happy hour with friends, or the dinner table, or the table that we are sitting alone on the beach on a vacation by ourselves. Our personality is the thing that transcends and it goes before all of us in each of those spaces. And so this visual right here, this is Carnegie as a whole. So we call this a spider graph. Don't quote me on that official terminology, but that's what I'm calling it. And so you see here at Carnegie, purple, that care with me, that is a top archetype here at Carnegie. And then we go into the green and then the maroon and the red. So we see we are all different. So our main point today is that just because someone is different than you doesn't mean that they're a problem that needs to be solved. They're just a person to better understand, because we are all different. So when we're thinking about this statement, we are all different, you see this italicized we. Kyle did that and I said, nice pink touch, Kyle. So we are all different. So that means none of us are robots. None of us have the standard personality that everyone needs to adhere to. That's not how this works. We are all a different variable on our teams, on the projects that we're working on. We are all different. So that means our goal, like I said, isn't a problem to solve. We want to understand people. So what we do, the goal in all of that is to acknowledge all of the various personalities that are present. That's what we want to do. And then we want to embrace them and keep moving forward. So you see, Kyle and I, very different people. We just explained all of the ways our personalities are different, right? Kyle and I are able to embrace his big, green, grandiose questions, because I'm able to say, I have questions too, but I'm coming at them from a different angle. And even as we were creating this outline for this presentation, my pink was shining bright, an outline, the slide deck, wanting to really think through all the details. And Kyle's way of operating is different than that, but we met in the middle because we embraced each of our strengths and our personalities and how we approach this. So we were able to do that. We were able to embrace each other's personalities because first, we leveled the playing field by first knowing ourselves. So we acknowledge that we're all different when we're thinking of working with different personalities, and then we start by understanding ourselves. So we do this by saying, what do I know about myself? What can I own and bring to the table? What do I do in my personality? I call these upstream and downstream characteristics. So if you've ever been in a canoe, a kayak, a paddleboard, something, you know that if you're going upstream, you have to work a little bit harder. There's going to be times where you need to rest. Maybe you need more people in the boat with you, helping you. But then when you are downstream, there's ease to it. You don't need to rest as often. People in the boat with you can kind of take a break. So knowing yourself is understanding where are my upstream characteristics and where are my downstream characteristics. And it's knowing and owning what's my mode of connection. How am I inviting people into participating in my personality with me? And how am I expressing my ways of connecting? And knowing and owning your motivations. So that's what Kyle was saying. Carnegie Chem is all about motivations. How am I approaching a decision, approaching the start and kicking off a new client? What's my motivation going into those things? When we consider ourselves first, it helps it take it from, oh, they're different than me, to the question being, what is different? We know ourselves the best. And so when we ask the question, what is different? It helps us to know and own ourselves. So what that looks like is saying, okay, I'm working with a different personality. I'm acknowledging that. Okay, maybe the project we're working on, it comes really easy for them, but I'm actually acknowledging that this is an upstream category for me. There's tension here because I'm having to work a little bit harder knowing my personality. Or maybe your wires are getting crossed in how you're trying to connect with other people. When you know yourself first, you can acknowledge, okay, what's different here? Okay, I'm trying to connect in one way, they're trying to connect in another. But maybe it's your motivations. Maybe you're coming from so many different angles, so it's really hard to see eye to eye. So remember, it's not about all these other people being different. It's that we are all different. So remember, someone who is different than you, they're just a person to better understand. So Carnegie Chem, this is a great tool to understand ourselves so that we can understand other people. Many of you might be familiar with what your profile looks like. Maybe you're not. But Carnegie Chem, it gives you this profile and it says, hey, Heidi Vanderpan, you are the polished and playful motivator. These are well, it tells you what you are, not that you're me. So it gives you your top 3 colors. You'll see those right there. You'll see your own spider web. You'll see how you relate to the other colors. What is a high color for you? What's a low color for you? And then you scroll down and you see what's your least archetype. And then you see what are you most drawn to and what do you struggle with? And then this is public information that was new to me when I took this. So everyone at Carnegie gets to see what are your top faults and what are your top pet peeves. We just love transparency here. So you can see there, I get to acknowledge that what my faults are, what my pet peeves are, what's my least archetype. And then you also get to go here and you can say, I'm going to explore more, not just about me, but more language about all of Carnegie Chem. So when you're looking at this profile and you're saying, I want to understand myself, there's 3 questions that I think that you can ask yourself to help translate from the information you're taking in to actually knowing yourself. And that first question is saying, what resonates with me? What doesn't? So when you're thinking of all these personality assessments, remember that they are a tool to provide that helpful language, but it's not a rule to be abiding by. This is just helpful language to understand yourself. So ask yourself, what resonates with me about this description? What doesn't? And then ask, how do I see my archetypes expressed in my work? So we heard Kyle say he is very confident about how red is expressed for him. I'm not so confident. So I'm still asking myself this question, how is this expressed at work? And then ask yourself, when do I feel connected to others? And when do I feel disconnected? Just acknowledge. Maybe the Carnegie Chem stuff has really great language for you, but maybe there's something that you're still reflecting on. How do I connect? How do I show up? So why do we do this? Why did Kyle and I just spend so much time saying, understand yourself? And it's because when we start with ourselves, it's kind. So it's really kind to ourselves to know how we show up in this big world. And it's really kind to others when we can own what we bring to the table. So, Kyle, why don't you take us into how can we really understand others now?
Yeah, so one of the great things about Carnegie Chem, or one of the great things maybe about working here with this tool, is that yes, absolutely, you just, as Heidi said, you just heard us made an argument that, look, this begins by understanding who you are, but it doesn't have to end there. That's not the full strength, the full power of Carnegie Chem. It's the ability to understand, at least begin the path to understand others, your coworkers, your peers. We have this great simple tool within the portal under similarity scores. So if you go to Carnegie Chem, you're looking at your own profile. If you click that team portal tab, and then underneath there, click similarity scores, you'll see this little structure. On the left and right, you have a drop-down menu. Well, when you click those drop-down menus, you see a list of 300 different people. So you can search yourself and your coworkers, and you can pull them up side by side. So example, I did this with Heidi and I. And so I pull it up, and right away we can see, okay, Kyle is this, Heidi is this persona, it's different, that's kind of cool, that's unique. But if you start scrolling down, you'll see, oh, wow, I can look left and right and just see dramatically, right, how different we are. Nick, you make such a great point in the chat there, that the work of DEI is critical in that, because what this doesn't show is all the cultural differences that Heidi and I might have, where we grew up, all sorts of things. This is focused on the personality part of it, but you can see right away, Heidi and I are different. I mean, within moments, I look at our own spider webs. You can see I kind of got a lightning bolt thing going on. Purple's going this way, hers is going to pink. Oh no, right? And then right away underneath 7 schema. Anybody see that? Like if you zoom in with your zoom binoculars, you can see ambiguity. You probably have noticed this even in this part of the conversation. Heidi and I are in different parts of the spectrum of ambiguity. I'm super comfortable with it. In fact, I kind of like it. I'm open to it. I'm ready to lean into it. Heidi maybe doesn't have the exact same feeling, but just seeing that, I can see and understand the wisdom that she's provided this whole time as we've gotten ready for this. Like, oh yeah, I can't just wing it. I can't just, we should pursue more details. Right? We should pursue more clarity than I'm just instinctually responding to. It's so good to know that and see that about Heidi. So it affects how we work together. It's really, really important. So what are some more kind of takeaways if you do this, if you pull this up? The first thing to do, put yourself in someone else's shoes. When you look at their profile within Carnegie Chem, what do you see right away, right? Maybe they have a strong orange archetype and you don't. Is there a chance that part of their communication, part of working together, is that they're inviting you to create with them? Maybe you're not leaning into that. Maybe you're not letting them express themselves or pursue some of that creativity because you have a more rigid structure. Or maybe you're me and you're asking so many questions that it's holding back part of the creative process, that I'm limiting it with all my questions. So looking at someone else's profile and say, what's motivating them? What's different about us? And of course, looking at where you're different on the spectrum. Maybe you have kind of opposites. Maybe you're on one side of orange and on the, or one side on ambiguity and then the other. Remaining conscious to those differences is really important because, as Heidi said at the very beginning, we can start to meet in the middle, right? Staying conscious to how my personality might be affecting others and how their personality could be affecting me. What a great starting point. What a great tool to at least get there. So one really important point that we're just trying to hammer home. Everyone on this call and everyone at this company is different, right? But with a tool like Carnegie Chem, at the very least, we can begin to embrace and encourage someone to be their authentic selves, to be who they truly are. When we show up as our own selves and we show up looking at somebody and saying, I want to see who they truly are, wow, different personalities can learn to work together, can be in sync, can work together, can overcome challenges. Carnegie Chem is a great and powerful tool that shows us this and allows us to develop these relationships.
So in summary, we're landing the plane now. We are all different, all of us, just what Kyle said. We're all bringing different variables to the table. So we start by understanding ourselves. We do that because it's kind to understand who we are in the world and how are we showing up. And it's kind when we can own those things when we're working with people of those different personalities. And then we seek to understand others, remembering that people are not a problem to solve, but a person to better understand. And we do that by staying curious about them. So that is me, you, team, and using Carnegie Chem to understand a bit different personalities. And that's what Kyle and I have for you today. So we want to open it up for these last few minutes, a few questions from anybody who is here.
Quick question. Where do we go to find our archetype colors in our personality assessment? I know I did one years ago, but haven't viewed it in a while, and it'd be interesting to go back and kind of revisit it.
Eric, love that question, because I think that you won't be the only one asking that or thinking about that. Jory dropped the URL in the chat, and if you're clicking it, you're trying to log in, and you're having some questions and concerns like which one, there might be some that longevity issues. You might have participated early on, and your profile might be connected to a different part. But Eric, if you are having trouble, thank you, Shan. Let me know, or let Jory and the ops team know, and we'll make sure that you get the right access to Carnegie Chem.
Great, thank you.
We wowed him, Heidi.
I guess.
I guess we just wowed him.
We really did. Well, also, Kyle, they have so many resources. Now they're all logging into Carnegie Chem, and they're like, gosh, I can go find all those answers right there on that website. That's so convenient for everyone.
And they're thinking, wow, it's so awesome to work here.
I do have a question. If someone takes the test multiple times, how common is it for their colors to change?
Love that question. Heidi, you or me?
I'll start it, you can end it. I would say that just as human beings, we're always going to be changing and evolving. So depending on that season of life, or that maybe there's a particular like really stressful situation that's going on, that's naturally going to kind of be influencing how you're responding to things. The questions are really like, at your best, how are you? At your best, how are you showing up? And so I think naturally we're evolving as people. So I don't know the likelihood that it's going to change, but I do think in our personalities, there's going to be those things, those top traits that transcend all of that. But it's acknowledging too that we are changing human beings.
I think sometimes we see, folks, there's, archetype numbers maybe slightly change. Maybe one could be more dominant than the other, but just subtly, because the survey itself is designed to get at your motivations, not just your behaviors, right? And so we should more or less have very, consistent motivations if we're pursuing and understanding ourselves. And so our season of life could, of course, affect that.
What do you do if maybe as someone who works client facing, I know you all do as well, client success repping, you might not know the personality of the client team you're working with. And so how can you maybe utilize this for someone that you don't have? I wish they were all in a database. I wish all my clients were searchable and I could look them up. But what do you maybe suggest to bring that curiosity to those relationships as well, when you don't maybe have that roadmap built in?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'll answer it as myself, for myself, Bridget. I try as best I can to be myself no matter what. Now I may be sillier here than I am on a client call or something like that, but I try to be myself no matter what, so that whoever's on the other side of the screen at least can know me. At least I can be myself. And from day one, when I started, shout out Jory Antima, letting me be myself was a huge part of why I love working here right from the get-go. So even though I exhaust somebody like Eric Page, I still think he likes me and wants me to be myself. So yes, it may be difficult that somebody across the screen,
We'll talk up.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So even though you don't know the other person, I think it's still important that you show up and be yourself, because they can see that and connect with you. And maybe you don't have that strong of connection. And so the professional attitude, professional experience is important to help mitigate some of that. And
I'll
we
just
are
add
1
on.
minute over.
Hey, Kyle, I want to
Please,
add on.
Dave.
Bridget just gave me the brilliant idea of maybe we onboard our clients by making them take Team Chem. That could
You
be
tell
something.
me where to sign up. I think that'd be awesome.
Thanks, Bridget.
You're welcome. Although, David, sometimes I might want them to do something else. And if they're stuck in Team Chem and I need them to give me an asset, I might be like, I want to know about you, but I also really need this thing so we can launch your campaigns.
I hear that loudly and clearly.
But I would
Definitely.
love that. I want to look them all up.
Well, thank you all for your time today. We really appreciate you being here, and go explore Carnegie Chem. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.